Guess I caught something. I think my wife said if I wrap it in choux pastry, it'll taste all right. Anyway, welcome back. We're continuing on this journey of exploring why should I read the Bible? Why should I trust it? And today I want to talk specifically about one book in the Bible. And it talks about probably the world's biggest boozer. A guy who had such a party that it cost them the whole kingdom. And his name was Belshazzar. And we find it in the book of Daniel. And you know, with this story, it's unbelievable except for the fact that it's true. That they got so boozed up and they're having this big celebration that the enemy was able to walk into Babylon and take over the whole city without we'd say a shot being fired, without anybody fighting at all. In fact, it would appear that the people inside Babylon were very happy for the Persians and the Medes to turn up at the time. But the problem that we have is that King Belshazzar is not noted in history anywhere at the time that this was written. Daniel's writings are so far back, like we're talking hundreds and hundreds of years before Jesus. And throughout the centuries that followed, the argument from historians was, well, the last king was Nebuchadnezzar, or Nebuchadnezzar, and he was a guy that was the last king, as far as anyone was concerned. So who was Belshazzar? And so for a long time the argument was, well, Daniel can't be right because Belshazzar doesn't exist. He's a fiction. Well, this went on for about 2,000 years from the time of that. And it was only actually in the 1800s that men went out as historians and started sifting through the sands around these areas of Iraq and Persia, which is where Babylon is, and they discovered, in fact, two things out of the sands and out of the archaeological digs that were going on in the old temples there that helped us to actually get to trust the Bible more. There was two things. One was called the Chronicles of this King Nebuchadnezzar, and the other one was his cylinder. And they were both written on stone or clay that was hardened, because really, if you want to record something and for it to last, you don't write down leaves on leaves or anything. You don't write on sticks. You have to write into stone or clay. And so, therefore, when they dug these things out, even though they were a little bit damaged still, they were able to discover that in fact the king had left Babylon, the city of Babylon, in charge of his son Belshazzar. And Belshazzar is the first time in history that anyone could actually validate that what Daniel had written was true and what all the other people had said for so long was actually incorrect. And so out of the diggings of the sand, we have both proof that Belshazzar existed, but secondly, in those writings, the king said he put his son in charge of all the royal things that are required in that city of Babylon. And so now when we read in Daniel about this time when the whole city is overthrown without any fight at all, we are able to be confident that we're reading the truth of history, and that in fact now people know what the real story was, that this was the biggest booze up in history, and it was true, and the prophecies of the Bible that said that this would actually happen from Isaiah, we'll talk about another day, they all came to pass, and it was all true. So we can trust through the diggings up of archaeology a lot of things that once we were arguing about with people in the past. Thank you for listening.